Hi, I'm Bob Archibald, the president of the Missouri Historical Society, and we're in the new Emerson Electric Center to celebrate this year's St. Louis Women of Achievement. This is, of course, a place where we celebrate people who've achieved all kinds of remarkable things throughout the course of St. Louis's history, including many women, ranging from Jeanette Forché, a free woman of color who lived here more than 200 years ago, to Kate Chopin, novelist and writer of international acclaim, to people like Marion Oldham, a civil rights pioneer and activist. So indeed, it's a real pleasure to have this year's group of women take their places along with other notable women who've made St. Louis such a wonderful place. We hope that you'll all come and take advantage of what we have to offer by visiting the Missouri History Museum.
I guess the beginning of my volunteerism started in 1942 with the American Women's Voluntary Services in Detroit. I was chairman of the junior division, 13 years old. I felt very important at the time. And we collected hangers and newspapers, used cans, and on the weekends we sold war bonds and war stamps, which was very exciting at that age, naturally. And we wore our uniforms, and we were very proud to be part of the effort to win the war.
Since the late 40s, certainly the early 50s, Fay has been involved with the Central Institute of the Deaf. It came natural because her family, into which she married, was very, very interested in CID.
My needs for volunteerism were well met when Dad said to me, "I have just the place for you to go, down to Central Institute." That is when I did work with the World War II veterans that came back, that had aphasia, and I dealt with the children. And in those days, they had many children from all over the country boarding there, and my first husband and I were able to take them home on weekends.
Recently, with the new building campaign and the new techniques, Fay has been front and center in all of these things and in the expansion and the magnificence of this organization.
I got involved with the Humane Society as a result of my love for animals. It was just a joy. I was around animals that I loved, and then I went on the board, continued from the board, and just recently went on the executive committee as the secretary.
Fay Beth has been an animal person, a pet person ever since I've known her. Always has had animals, has always cared for them, given them the greatest amount of attention.
I was very instrumental during the years that we had our capital campaign, getting money for our new building, our beautiful facility that now is in full swing. We are very proud of it. I think it's probably one of the foremost humane societies in the country.
This is a thing that she just loves to do, and it isn't just major organizations like CID and like the Humane Society, but I can give you many, many minor organizations where she's been indefatigable in her help that people never even know about. That's true philanthropy.
Just being able to give back to the community has been my wonderful satisfaction. If I didn't like the work, I don't do it. So I'm doing what I love, and I know that it's doing good for others, and that gives me tremendous satisfaction.
My true passion is helping people. And I was in an auto accident in 1990. And previous to that, I'd gotten my degree in recreation. And I found this really neat organization after I became a person with a disability called the Recreation Council. I've been on their board since '92. And it's my passion. I think you have to have passion about what you believe in.
About 9 years ago, Katie contacted me and wanted to find out about the services of the Recreation Council. And when Katie came in, I thought I'd be giving her, different examples of the different leisure and recreation opportunities that are out there in the St. Louis community. And when Katie came in, it was more, what can I do for the Recreation Council?
I wasn't sure what my opportunities were as a person with a disability with a recreation degree. And then I met the Recreation Council and Sue Fleming, the executive director, and they were my first open door to living as a person with a disability and becoming employable. I do a lot of disability education, and I visit schools, and a lot of times I do donate my services, and I do a lot of volunteering. I go out and represent the boards that I'm on at various meetings, and I sit on different committees. And a typical day, I don't think there's such thing as a typical day.
Katie has just done a tremendous job in just making sure that the awareness is there, that inclusion is happening in the recreation field for all people of all abilities. She's just been tremendous to work with.
One of my true volunteer, I guess it's a volunteer activity, is the Disability Project. We're a theater group of people with disabilities and without disabilities. And we go out in the community and do our own material. We write our own stories and perform our own material. And then not only do we offer performances, but after our performances, we just grab a chair and we sit down and we rap with the audience on disability education and educate them beyond entertaining them.
Katie is a real leader. I mean, when Katie promotes something or gets involved in something, she does it from the heart. You know, she really puts everything she has into it. Anything that she does, whether it be a volunteer work or whether it be, you know, her employment with Access for All, Katie jumps in there and she just does everything to get the job done.
Very early in life, it became clear to me that I wanted to be a teacher. We had a housekeeper who worked for us who wouldn't admit to my parents that she didn't know how to read or to count. But as soon as I learned in school, she came to me and wanted me to be able to teach her to read and teach her to be able to do her sum, she said. She specifically wanted to pass her driver's license. And you can imagine the thrill I had when the work that I did with her allowed her to pass her driver's license and then be able to drive a car. And so it became clear to me that the way you help people is to give them skills so that they can help themselves.
Everyone wants Terry on their committee or to chair a committee because she understands the issues, she's prepared, she's an active participant, and when she sees a need, she comes up with an idea to see that that need is filled.
I am currently a vice president of the Jewish Federation of St. Louis and have been on its board for a number of years. One of the highlights of my involvement in the Jewish Federation has been the creation of the Business and Professional Women of St. Louis. I had previously sat on the Women's Division Board, but as I was becoming more active in my professional life, morning meetings and luncheons just didn't fit into my time schedule, and I realized that if I was having difficulty combining community and family life, women who weren't already connected with the Jewish Federation were going to pass us by and get involved in other organizations. So we tried to think of another organization that would meet at different times so that these women could come together after their professional day and still be able to be involved in community, using their professional skills to further the goals of the Jewish Federation.
When Terry was being talked about for the Children's Trust Fund, I thought it was just such a natural for a couple of reasons. One, her dedication to children is unquestionable. She actually lives that every day in her professional and volunteer life. And she'd been quite a devoted supporter of Carnahan, and it seemed just absolutely the perfect match.
Being appointed by Governor Carnahan to the Children's Trust Fund was one of the high points of my life. The goal of the Children's Trust Fund is to prevent child abuse and to treat it where necessary. The Carnahan family, following the governor's death, have designated that tributes be given to the Children's Trust Fund, so we will even have an extra opportunity to do some good in his memory.
I think that Terry's warmth and genuineness and integrity play out through every activity in which she's involved. And I think that's a great lesson for all.
What's exciting for me is to work in a group of people and find out that our combined efforts make whatever we do better than any one of us could have done alone. So it's really the community of people doing things together that's exciting for me.
I've always been concerned about the welfare of children and families, and the St. Louis Crisis Nursery's mission is to help children and families who are going through a crisis, who are going through an emergency. What I've done there as a board member is both marketing and publicity. Marketing to the parents who need the services, and publicizing the nursery to both volunteers and people in the community who would donate money or funding to make sure that those services and programs continue.
Roberta is passionate about any cause she puts her skills and mind to, and for St. Louis Crisis Nursery, she's really put the nursery on the map by doing a proactive media campaign about child abuse prevention.
Publicity doesn't just sell tickets. Publicity also presents the organization in a positive light and keeps the name out in front of the community. And when it's time to ask for donations, when it's time to ask for volunteers, when it's time to ask for anything for that organization, people will say, "Oh, I know that group. I've heard of them. Oh, they're very good." The Rule of Thumb video was a video that I helped to market for National Council of Jewish Women, St. Louis section. It was a video for and about women in abusive situations. What we did was contact hospital emergency rooms and police departments and actually the military and offices, businesses, and try to market it to their human relations, human resources people so that they could show it in a non-threatening environment to large groups of women, or in some cases individuals in a private room.
For Rule of Thumb, Roberta marketed this video on domestic violence out in the community of people that needed to hear about it. And as a result, several things happened in the state. One is that the State Troopers Association and local police departments began to use the Rule of Thumb video in their training of police officers to raise consciousness about the whole issue of domestic violence, thereby helping the women for whose cause that she was working. She's worked on so many different projects, from breast cancer walk to AIDS awareness, child abuse, domestic violence, the arts, a symphony. She's working with the zoo, and of course Paraquat, a wonderful, successful event. It's just a joy to work with her, and the end result is that wonderful things happen for people who need a little bit of extra help in the community.
I find that this is creative, the work that I do, that it's meaningful, that it has had an impact on St. Louis. The little bit that I do, if it can help repair the world a little bit, then I've done a good job.
I think when organizations approach you, or you meet someone who is an executive director or president of an organization, and their story is so compelling and so motivating, then you just kind of get on board. And so in the city of St. Louis, I have done a lot of work with groups that target the arts and groups that target youth development, which are my two very special interests and always have been.
I met Thelma Cook about 13 years ago when we were in the formative stages of the Center of Contemporary Arts, COCA. And Thelma immediately embraced the concept of providing arts education to the entire community. She really agreed with our vision of the arts as a vehicle for social change. She came to that feeling, that commitment, through her own experience with the arts. She danced for 20 years. She was a co-owner of a dance studio, and she was an honors art student. So she really understood the value of the arts for young people.
When you serve a lot of organizations and you do a lot of things, you could pretty much lose track. But if there is a component within the organization that really excites you, and you have an opportunity to really get in and dig in and work with the organization on that component, then that is the best. That's the bonus. And in that regard, there's a young man by the name of Rodney Hamilton, and Rodney is a very interesting young man. He came from North St. Louis. I met Rodney when he was 9 years old at the Center of Contemporary Arts, and I've been able to follow his life's dream with him. And Rodney now is a junior at the Juilliard School of Music, and that is just fabulous. That's wonderful. That's the kind of thing that sometimes you don't get to see, but I got to see this.
What was so striking about her involvement at COCA was the personal interest that she took in our young students. And when those students grew and developed and then went on to dance at companies like Dance Theater of Harlem or to go to institutions like Juilliard, we could really be rewarded by her volunteerism. Thelma's done a great deal for so many arts organizations and so many social service organizations, not only in St. Louis, but throughout the country. She's active at Matthews Dickey's Boys and Girls Club, at the YMCA, at Girls Inc., and at national organizations as well.
I am totally indebted to volunteering as a way of life. And I believe that when you give and you embrace a community, individuals, with your sincere heart, that it's a win-win situation. The community wins, the individual wins, and you certainly win.
I'm a product of the St. Louis Public Schools, and I'm very proud of that. And I think the St. Louis Public Schools gave me a very good education, and it gave my other sisters and brothers a very good education, and they went to universities all around the country and competed at the top levels and now in their occupations. So I know that there is hope, and I'm very optimistic about the future of the public school system.
Malika's a woman who's committed to the St. Louis community. She has co-chaired a Sustainable Neighborhoods project, and she believes that the city is viable and that we should all work together to make it flourishing and dynamic.
Sustainable Neighborhoods is something that is close to my heart because I'm a child of urban renewal. The Sustainable Neighborhood approach is to empower the people in the communities, the people in the neighborhood. So it's a real bottom-up approach for neighborhood revitalization. And so I thought, what an important idea is an idea that is overdue, and I wanted to be part of that movement. When I was president of the University of Missouri System Board of Curators, I started a task force called Access. And one of our mottos was, college begins in kindergarten. Later on, Governor Cornahan formed a coalition that sort of came out of that Access Committee called the K through 16 Coalition. And that is still going on.
She's interested in education. She's interested in analyzing public policy and deciding what is the right thing to do. She's very interested in K through 16. How can we make an educational system that is sort of seamless, or as seamless as possible?
One of the activities that I've been involved in that's very close to my heart is character development for children. And this is something that is not new. I know that more and more people are getting interested in it because of some of the really public attention that has been brought to it. But I've been involved with this, I'm reluctant to say, for about the last 28 years. And I have found it to be probably the most rewarding is working with children. Many times when the parents would bring their children to these programs, they didn't want to be there. They would rather be playing or being with their friends or something like that. But now that I've seen some of these children grow up, I have seen what fine individuals they have come to be and the contributions that they are making to our communities and our societies. And it's very important to put focus on moral education for our children.
The arts are alive in St. Louis. I think arts are very democratic. They're sort of at the heart of democracy. Anybody can be an artist, anybody can make art in some way or another, whether they sing a song, write a poem, paint a picture, make a sculpture. I went to lobby for the arts in Jeff City many years ago, and one of the politicians said, "Now, Nancy, if it really came down to it, would you give money to put new toilets in the jail or for arts education?" And I said, well, You know, this may sound kind of hooey and carny, but if you give money to arts education, maybe people wouldn't wind up in jail. I really believe that.
No individual has done more than Nancy in promoting the artists of the St. Louis community. As far back as the artist parties that she used to throw in her own home. Then she went on to support programming at both the Forum for Contemporary Art and the St. Louis Art Museum to promote and show the work of local artists and recognize local artists.
People know that I love the arts, and they wanted me to sort of spread the word through the airwaves. And so somebody at KDHX 88.1 FM said, you know, we've got a little spot for arts interviews. And I'm there every Monday morning, rain or shine, and I like to interview everyone, whether it be Charles McKay, the general manager of Opera Theater, or an unknown poet, or Brent Benjamin, the director of the Art Museum. I cover it all the different arts disciplines.
I would say that Nancy is the spirit of St. Louis, and she has a really unique talent of bringing people together. Different kinds of personalities, different kinds of talents. She'll take one organization, find someone, match them to it. A great example was the New Music Circle. She saw what they did, she brought them together with the Forum for Contemporary Art. She really is someone who cross-pollinates talents and individuals.
Somebody approached my husband Ken, the wonderful Ken, and me about possibly funding the studio of the illustrated book at Washington U. I'm always preaching that collaboration is the name of the game, and this was a combination of the Writer's Center, the library, special collections in particular, and the art school. The kids are making these incredible illustrated books. I mean, they're winning national prizes.
She literally talks the talk on KDHX when she promotes all of the cultural institutions. And she walks the walk as a docent at Lohmeyer, at the St. Louis Art Museum, and really has opened the eyes of thousands of children to the world of the visual arts.
Well, I'm enthusiastic, and I like to turn people on to the arts. I like a challenge. I like to take stubborn adults around Lohmeyer Sculpture Park that have an attitude like, what's that heap of junk over there, and make some sense of it to them so that they actually scratch their chin and say, I'm starting to sort of get into it a little bit.
Obviously, I was so involved with my own 5 growing up and all of their activities, and that got me very interested in other people's children. And then when mine went away to college, that's when I really started spending more time with children who really needed a voice. Sister Julia Hueskamp has an after-school program in East St. Louis, and there are 5 after-school centers. And we've been doing this for about 15 years, and I enjoy it so much. And in the beginning, I remember that the after-school centers were only open till 4 o'clock, and now we have them open much later, and the kids aren't on the streets, and they have wonderful activities.
Judy is interested in all segments of her community. She does a lot of things for the little community she lives in, Sauget, and in Cahokia. She's had a lot of connections in Belleville. She's done things for us in East St. Louis. She's worked with the Children's Behavior Center up in, which serves children who have very difficult problems in the whole Metro East area. So she's made some significant contributions, particularly in the Metro East community.
I think one of the biggest fundraisers I was involved with was the preservation and restoration of the log church of the Holy Family Parish in Cahokia. The parish was founded in 1699, so in 1999 we celebrated the tricentennial. And we had the Cardinal came from Chicago, Cardinal George, and we had bishops and priests, 144 came to celebrate, and we were able to restore and preserve this wonderful building. The really exciting project that I'm involved with right now is the People Project, and it's truly a regional public art project, and we will be involving children in their schools. We hope to have some of the people riding the Metrolink, having them all in public buildings all around the area.
Judy is the kind of person who is absolutely gracious and open and friendly and respectful to every segment of society, whether it's the teenage dishwasher in her restaurant or it's the politician who's in high office in Washington. I think that's really what gives her her ability to make connections and to put people together and to do good things for the community.
My goals, my wishes, my dreams are always for children. Whenever I think of the future, I think of all the children right here at home. We don't have to go to another country. We can find them right here that need our help and our patience and our time and our understanding. And we have some wonderful people doing some wonderful things here, and we just need to lend a hand.
Neighborhoods thrive around certain kinds of activities. The Jefferson School is a prime example of what can help to revitalize a neighborhood when neighborhood services and housing are established around a neighborhood school.
One of the things that truly drives Anne, and one of the things I've admired, is she is a strategic visionary, meaning she's acting in the present but thinking towards the future. And in order to put your efforts towards education, I think that's how you have to think. You have to think about what's going to happen in the future.
Aim High is a program of educational enrichment for children who may not have those opportunities in the school system that they're involved in. One of the very first objectives was to help those children reach graduation, but I think it's gone even beyond that. Those children are really very interested in the kinds of educational opportunities they can have after graduation from high school.
Anne is the immediate past chairman of the board for the Metropolitan Association for Philanthropy. This is a not-for-profit organization made up of the donors, both corporate donors, foundation representatives, and individuals who give money to not-for-profits. Anne approached her presidency with just that same sense of passion, that same sense of a strategic vision for where the organization needed to go in order to ensure that it was doing the right thing for the region.
I've been very involved with MAP for some time now in terms of heading up various committees, but most recently I was the chairman of the board. I'm now the retiring chairman, and I'm heading up the Strengthening Philanthropy Committee. Opera Theater is taking on a review of its operation from artistic to facilities to the study of what the audience is and wants from opera theater. I am co-chairing the Strategic Planning Committee, and we will be studying throughout this year with various task forces and committees to chart the course for the future. I believe I grew up understanding the value of giving back to the community. I have brought that to my own family, and each of our own children and my husband are involved in the community just as I am. We support each other in doing that. I think it brings a richness to our own family, and we hope we're enriching the lives of others by the work that we're doing.
Well, my musical background was in piano and organ. My degrees were in those instruments. And so it was natural that I related to musical entities in St. Louis, such as the Arts Council and the Community Music School, which was a forerunner of CASA, and our wonderful St. Louis Symphony Orchestra.
There's no subject that Virginia tackles that she doesn't succeed at, and she's so generous with her time and efforts. She is a talented musician herself, and she introduced youngsters into music by sponsoring events with the St. Louis Symphony.
I was able to arrange concerts at private, parochial, and public schools in the county, and this increased the number of young people attending these concerts by over 4,000. Somewhere along the line, I really switched into healthcare, which was another very exciting avenue for me
She sponsored the mobile mammograph units that go around to shopping centers and so forth. She's the one who introduced that into the St. Louis community.
There was very little awareness among women of the importance of early breast cancer detection. And so, Mallinckrodt Institute of Radiology developed a mobile mammography van. It was a very successful program, and there has been another generation of the van. It is in existence today, and the work goes on.
Not too many people really appreciate, to my mind, the work that media professionals do, but Virginia Trent does. In fact, she hosted a salute to Joan Dames, the retired people editor, if you will, of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, that drew possibly the biggest crowd in the history of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel.
It was an exciting night. There were almost 900 people at the gala. We were able to generate almost $200,000 for St. Patrick's Center to carry on their wonderful programs for the poor and homeless people in St. Louis. My current involvement is with Care and Counseling, which is a nonprofit agency of certified pastoral counselors. And so it is very essential that we have benefits to help subsidize these marvelous counselors who are so dedicated.
She has done so much for the St. Louis community. She just personifies public service and no self-interest whatever. There's only one thing Virginia Trent is incapable of, and that's saying, no, I don't have time to help you. That's the kind of lady she is.